Hi, my name is Parker Haney, and this is my final project presentation. In this presentation, I'll be showing you the program that I have made, why I made it, and just go over kind of the development process. So, for my project, I wanted to create a calendar slash schedule application that is a bit more simpler than most other calendar applications. The thing about me is that I always have like just making simple reminders on my phone in the Notes app. I've never used the calendar application to remind myself of something, or I've never used the reminder app on my phone to set a reminder for me. I've always just liked making little notes to remind myself of something, and that's kind of what this whole program was inspired by. So some of the goals for my calendar application was to make it simple, intuitive, quick, and flexible. And if I just switch over to my application here, right off the bat, you can see that there's a very simple UI. It's very easy to get to right where you need to be if you want to make notes for the 1st of September, which is on Friday. When you launch up the application, that's the default day that it'll pick. And then you can just come over here and make your notes. You can say that I want to walk the dog, or you can make more specific notes like I want to go to the gym by, let's say, 4 p.m. after work. And so you can just kind of make little simple notes for each day like that. If you switch to the second, you'll see that we get a separate text box for the second, and then we can go back to the first. The text is still here. It hasn't moved anywhere. And then if you would like to make sure that this text that you have put in here is saved, you can just come over here to the save option, and then you can title it something. You can just say Friday, September 1st. And it doesn't have to be that. You can have it be whatever sort of name you want it to be, and it will be saved as a rich text file. And that is because the text boxes that we use within this program are also rich text boxes, and so you can just save that to whatever folder you have open, and then later on when you close the application, you can then load that text. So let me just show you here. Let me just wipe this text here. And if I go to load, I can go to Friday, September 1st, and it'll open it into the text box that I have currently open. And let's even say that you want to have these notes here. You want to keep these notes, but you actually want to move the date in which these happen. So let's say I initially scheduled this for the 1st, but instead I really wanted those events to take place, or to be reminded of those events on the 4th. So I can just load this over here, and as long as you have the 4th selected, you can just hit load. Then this file explorer will pop up. You just go to wherever you left your .rtf file. You hit open, and now this is the exact same notes, but it's on the 4th instead of the 1st. So you can see there that you can just clear out the text on the 1st, since it's not going to happen on this date anymore, and now will happen on the 4th. If you want to make, a new note because of that, you can just say Monday, September 4th. Go ahead and hit save, and just like with the first RTF file, you can load that into any other day. And designing my program in this way, I think, is what allows it to be really flexible and easy to use. You just kind of select the day, enter the text you want to be entered for that day, enter all the notes that you want to make for that day. Then you hit save. You can then close the application. Once you load it back up, you can load your previous notes in for each day. And yeah, it just makes the whole process very easy, and you kind of get to choose what kind of notes you want to make over here on the right for each day. And I feel like you can really get a good sense of how different my application is from all the other calendar applications when you kind of compare it to the two biggest desktop calendars that people use, which is the Outlook calendar and the Google Calendar. For both of these, they kind of have a very similar process of hitting the create event button in the top left. For the Google Calendar, you can go ahead and see it up here. You have to hit this create button to create an event for a specific day, and that's when this prompt will show up, and it will ask you to add a title. You can set the time and day. You can set whether it repeats. You can add a description, make a list of tasks, and you follow the exact same process over here. You can see it's in the exact same spot. You just hit create new event. You have to add a title, specify the time in which you want this event to take place, and add a description. And it's this is the sort of stuff that I would never use when it comes to a calendar application, which is why I decided to make my calendar application so simple, is because when I'm quickly making notes for a day, I don't want to have to specify the time, or I don't want to have to enter in certain things for a title of the event or a description or anything like that. I just like everything to be very, very simple, and I just like to make my own notes and have my own freedom with the notes that I want to make for each day. So right here, you can see this is the flow/state diagram. Over here is the flow of the application. If you watched my midterm presentation, you have already seen this, but pretty much from the very beginning, my application has always followed this exact same flow/state, and since my midterm, nothing has really changed. So when you start my application, you can select the month that you would like to enter notes for. Now the thing is that the only month that has been added with all features complete right now is September. If you hit this right button here, it will bring you to October, but nothing here is functional. There's obviously a text box over here that you can use, but and obviously you can see that this changed to October up here, and it says October right here, but nothing here works. You can't select a day. These save and load buttons don't have any functionality, so this is kind of just like a placeholder. Within this 5-week course, I was only able to implement the September month, but if I had more time, obviously I would add in all the other months with all the buttons and the text boxes and functionality with the save and load buttons. And you can go ahead and see that if you hit the left button here, when you're on the September screen, it will bring up August, and it's the same exact thing. This is just a placeholder, a proof of concept to show that there is more room for more months besides just September. And essentially here, I actually just closed my application, so let me just start it up again. All right. And going back to this flow diagram, you can see here that after selecting the month, you just select a day. It's very easy, just like I showed you. You click a button Once you click one of the days, that day will be grayed out. You can't click it anymore. You have to select a different day. So right now, you can see up here, this text will show you what day is selected. It is Saturday, September 2nd. I can go right back down here, and now it displays Saturday, September 9th. And I can enter in my notes for that. You can jump all the way over here to the 25th, and so on and so forth, and just enter in different notes for each day. And that's exactly what is down here is the edit schedule. Right over here on the right, this rich text box is the schedule. You can list exactly what you want to do, or you can go ahead and load your schedule. Hopping over here to the state diagram, this kind of shows you exactly what my application does, but on a more deeper technological level. You just run the program in the IDE, and from there you kind of have two options. You can use the arrows that I showed you up here to change the month, and when you use those arrows, what's actually happening is it hides the previous form and it shows the new form. So think of this as one form, and then when I click this, it brings up another form, which is the October form, and it's the exact same thing for if I load it up here, and if I were to hit the left button, it would then show me the August form. So that is how that works. Other than that, when you click on one of the numbered days, what it does on a more technological level is that it will hide the previous text box, shows the new text box, disables buttons, and enables all the other buttons. And on top of that, there is a rich text box that corresponds to each date. So in total, for this form, there are 30 different rich text boxes, and when I click on each one of these, it selects that text box and hides the previous one, which you can't really see, but that is what's happening. And it's the exact same thing here for the save and load buttons up here. When you select a different day, there's a save button and a load button that corresponds to each day, that corresponds to each button. So just by clicking between these two, I'm switching between two different text boxes and two different save and load buttons. And that's done so that each load button knows which text box to load the text into from a .rtf file, and so that each save file knows which text to save for each text box. So because I have the second selected here, this save button, when I press it, it knows to save the text for this day specifically and not any other day. Then down here, we can click on the text box and type out our notes. And of course, just like I said, you can save and load those notes at any time when you're using the application. And over here, you'll kind of just see that if you already have the proper month selected, obviously when it comes to the current state of the program, the only month that is available and functioning is September. But if there was a future version, you would be able to select multiple months. But obviously, because September is the only one available, there's only 1 month available, so you would just click on the day that you would want to make notes for, and then you would type it to the text box, and then save it, and then load it for when you want to access that text again. So I have some screenshots here just for you guys to get a better idea of the development process. Let's start over here. This was just two images that I used for inspiration for my program. My program ended up straying a lot from what this was, and I'm kind of happy that it did, because I feel like Even though this is good inspiration for what I wanted to make, it wasn't exactly what I wanted to make. It wasn't as simple as I wanted it to be. And I only kind of took ideas from what these two images are, which is the daily schedule planner and just the September month calendar for 2023. Based off of these two images, I made UI mockups within Figma, and you can see that here. You can see that originally I was planning to have different users so that you could just log in to your account and then all of the information would be tied to your account. But I decided to kind of go even simpler than that. And I decided to kind of forego the whole different users idea. But here you can just see the initial idea of what I thought my application would be. And some things in this UI mockup were used for the final iteration of the UI, and some things just weren't. With this UI mockup, you can see that I was planning to have the schedule on a completely separate screen from the actual calendar. But if you just look at this first iteration here, I decided to make it even simpler than that. I wanted the calendar and the schedule to be on the exact same screen. And this was back before I came up with the idea of having a text box here that displays the day that you have picked, as well as a save and load function. So right here, this first iteration, I didn't like that it was kind of hard for you, the user, to figure out what day they had selected other than just, this grayed out little button. So I decided to add a text box that displays the exact same day, month, and day of the month that they currently have selected. And I also didn't like that within this first iteration, that there wasn't a way for the user to save or load the notes that they had made. So I created that over here with these two buttons. You have the save button, you have the load button, and if you want to save the text, you can. If you want to load it, you can also do that. So those were two additions that I made to the UI that I feel were very important. In terms of optimization, there was some level of optimization with my projects. If I had more time to put into the project, there would be more, but something that I did do was create 4 very useful functions, which was hide all text boxes, hide or enable all buttons, hide all save buttons, and hide all load buttons. And what those functions do, the hide all text boxes essentially, when I click on a different day, that hides every single text box over here. And then I also have it set up to where when I click on this, it also shows text box 1. And text box 1 corresponds to this day. So it essentially hides all the text boxes for every single other day, and then it shows the text box that I do want to edit for that specific day. Enable all buttons, that just enables every single button. And when you click on a button, that function is run. And then right after that, when you click on a button, it will disable the button that you just pressed. So if I press this button here, all the other buttons will be enabled, but this button will be disabled. And then for the hide all save buttons and hide all load buttons, I kind of already went over that. When you click on a specific day, there are save buttons and load buttons that correspond to each day. There's 30 different save and load buttons. Right now, obviously, the save and load buttons for the 2nd of September are shown. And then if I just click on a different button here, you'll see that they're still there, but they actually aren't the same save and load button. Those are 2 different save and load buttons from the one that appear when I select day 2. And that's, just like I said, that's so that each save and load button knows which text box to target, essentially. And And then if we just look here, you have the use pointers notes for save and load buttons. These two are optimizations that I did not make. I could use pointers for the save and load buttons, and essentially what that would do is that when I enter some text in here, I wouldn't have to have save and load buttons for each day. I could just have two save and load buttons that are usable for each and every single day, so that I wouldn't have to do 30 different save buttons, 30 different load buttons. And what pointers would do is that they would be able to detect what text box is currently shown on screen, and then it would know to target that text box essentially. But sadly, I haven't learned much about pointers within C#, so that wasn't included. And also, another big optimization that I didn't include within this iteration of my project is automatically save and load .rtf files. Right now, as you can see, you have to save and load the text that you enter into these text boxes manually. But I think that if I had more time, I would make it to where when you close the application, the text that you have entered into each and every single text box is saved, and then when you open the application, that information would be accessed and the notes would be automatically loaded into each text box that corresponds with each day. So these are two optimization opportunities that I wish I could include in this iteration of my application, but sadly, due to time and just not enough knowledge of how to implement those features, these two things were not included. And the only real bit of optimization that I have included with my application are these 4 useful functions here, which would have, if I weren't using these functions, my code would be a lot more messy. There would be a lot more of it. It would just be way worse. And just kind of talking on what I would do if I had more time for my application, and like what I wish I could implement into my application. Obviously, more completed months. September, as of right now, is the only month available. Months like October and August do not work. They don't have any function. They're just placeholders. So that's definitely a very big deal that obviously with the calendar schedule application, you would want all the months of the year to be available to you. Another big thing is that because this is the first form that I made, when I open up different forms, like the form for October, this form has to still be open and shown because it is the main form that these 2 different forms are built off of. And essentially what I would do if I had more time is, instead of having the September form be the main form, I would just have a small window pop up when you first open up my application that just allows you to quickly select the exact month that you would like to choose. It would look something like this. This is just a mock-up that I made inside of my PowerPoint presentation file. So the window would just look like this, and the user would then be able to quickly select the exact month that they would like to go to make notes for. And then obviously from there, they would navigate through these buttons. But sadly, I didn't really keep that in mind when I first started making this application, and I have this September form as the main form. The very last feature that I would add to my application is maybe just like a very simple alarm/reminder system Within the UI, I'm not sure where I would include that. Maybe I would have a button right here that allows you to pop up a window that gives you a interface that kind of looks something like this, but it would be really simple, just like every other aspect of my application. I want to keep everything simple, so for the alarm feature, all that you would have available to you is just entering the title of the alarm, the exact time that you would want it to go off, and then just setting it with the button right there. And I think that that would be a very like simple alarm slash reminder system that would go along with how simple my application is already. And that is the end of my presentation. Thank you for watching.